Bryce Young's already not getting enough credit, and we all want to compartmentalize what happened after week 2 in 2024 when Bryce Young got benched. New information has come out on that. It was Dave Canales' decision, according to an interview with Rich Eisen that Dan Morgan did. But before we go into that, it was no sabbatical. That's what they're calling it now nationally. They're calling Bryce Young's benching a sabbatical. It's like they just put him on the bench for a couple of weeks so he could go overseas and create a food drive or something. It was all sunshine and rainbows, and I know it's that time of year, but I believe in this situation that being real, it gets you a lot further. I think we're seeing a deeper relationship between coach and quarterback. I think the organization has ultimate faith in the quarterback. They didn't get there easily. There were some tumultuous waters the Panthers had to navigate. Bryce Young was in hot water last year. Here's a report from Adam Schefter in September of 2024. Although the Panthers have said they don't plan to trade Young at this time, sources around the league believe it is only a matter of time before Carolina completes a deal involving the second-year quarterback, with the most likely time coming at some point in the offseason. This is where things were headed. Panthers in trade rumors, they're saying ship Young to LA to go and flourish under Sean McVay. There were genuine conversations and reports that the Panthers are going to trade the quarterback. This is right after Bryce Young got benched. And I believe it's of utmost importance to your understanding, to our understanding, that we know factually that Bryce Young dealt with difficult circumstances that are unprecedented. Unprecedented. Like, most second-year quarterbacks would not have to deal with what Bryce Young dealt with in his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Zach Wilson was drafted by the Jets. Justin Fields went to Chicago. 2 young quarterbacks that never had a chance to win. They didn't get benched compared to Jamarcus Russell and then come back halfway through 2024 and put up 10 touchdowns in the last 3 games, but a really impressive stretch late in the season. It was not only hardship that Bryce Young dealt with, and it was also his ability to overcome it. That was unique, unprecedented. But I don't believe it was a sabbatical. That's what some of these national hosts are calling it. Here's Rich Eisen with Dan Morgan talking about the Carolina Panthers benching Bryce Young and Dave Canales' role in the decision.
What do you feel Bryce learned from that sabbatical, which is a word I used with him when I chatted with him before the Munich game when I saw him, and he kind of digged that word. What do you think he learned from that, Dan?
You know, I think for him to be able, first of all, I think Coach Canales did a great job of just like making a hard decision. It was a hard decision to, bench Bryce for, after the second game of the year. And for him to do that and, being a first-time head coach, not a lot of guys would do that in that type of situation. So for him to feel that, that was going to be the best thing for Bryce, I thought that was a great move by him.
That's new information. I don't know how many people knew that decision came from the coach. I think we all knew that Canales was fed up with Bryce Young early in the 2024 season. He looked somewhat impatient on the sideline, looked frustrated. It's the guy that coached Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, completely changed the trajectory of their careers. And he looks at Bryce Young the first 2 weeks, and there's some frustration. As optimistic as Canales was, he looked like he was losing his mind a little bit, like the Panthers quarterback was in the first 2 seasons of 2024. We thought the decision to bench Bryce Young came from upstairs. It was a collaboration at the least. But no, Canales made the tough decision, Dan Morgan says. That's not what I want to talk about. What I do want to talk about is the fact that they're calling it a sabbatical. Maybe Bryce Young treated it like it was a sabbatical because he overcame adversity, and when he was given an opportunity again, he took the reins and ran with it. But in hindsight, it's very easy to say that. Revisionist history tells us that it was just a sabbatical. The Panthers benching Bryce Young was just them making a decision that's best for the quarterback. And we're just going to completely turn a blind eye to the trade rumors that were happening. We're going to turn a blind eye to the car accident that Andy Dalton unfortunately got into that thrusted the second-year quarterback back into the lineup. We're going to turn a blind eye to all the actual circumstances that happened in real life and say, quite optimistically, that it was just a sabbatical and the Panthers trying to give the quarterback a break. Come on. And I don't want you to think that way too, because this whole situation has greatly deepened the relationship between coach and quarterback. I don't think the Panthers are drafting T-Mac if the circumstances last year were any different. If Bryce Young had a mediocre year for 17 games, they're not drafting T-Mac. Bryce Young overcoming adversity, climbing the mountain, righting the ship, performing very well down the stretch against the Eagles, the Chiefs, one game against the Bucs, and beating the Falcons in overtime the last game of the season. Bryce Young coming back stronger than ever is why they drafted T-Mac. It's why the organization is making decisions around Young. Why Bryce Young, number 9, is the identity of this organization. Because the tumultuous times that he was put through, that he underwent, how he responded to the situation, and how that deepened his relationships with everyone in the organization. It wasn't a freaking sabbatical. It wasn't easy for the quarterback to get benched, sit and watch Andy Dalton for weeks, and then on a dime get thrusted back into the lineup. That was not easy. And Bryce Young isn't your dad's quarterback either. That bravado. I remember watching that growing up. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Some of these guys, just like bravado. They don't have emotion. You think of like a Wrangler commercial, just sort of getting out of the truck, stern face, no smile, but no frown either. Throwing the football, the freaking U-cut jeans. Bryce Young's different. He's taking a different approach to the quarterback position. Something that he talked to GQ magazine about. Matthew Robertson interviewed Bryce Young. The Carolina Panthers quarterback shares how breathing exercises, meditation, and speaking to a sports psychologist have helped him navigate the NFL. And 3 to 5 years ago, this would be a red flag. If you didn't have the bravado, if you didn't have the lack of emotion that's associated with an NFL quarterback, then it's a red flag. It's not a quarterback you have much faith in. Well, Bryce Young is antithetical of that, and I'm reading this article, and I'm completely amazed with the psychology of the Panthers quarterback. He's not a big personality. He's not like another offensive player we're going to talk about on this show. But he's very introspective, and he's very insightful. The Carolina Panthers quarterback believes mental health is something that's ongoing, is what Young said. It's good, it's bad, it's up, it's down. It's something that we are all dealing with. Having more conversations about it, I think we'll realize that it's not all bad, it's not negative, it's just something that we all live with, talking about mental health. And he interacts with teammates on it. Veterans, for example, have reached out to Young and have said that it's not something that they have taken care of. They've neglected it. But he's hoping to make mental health more accessible to his teammates. And again, reading this, seeing the headlines, Bryce Young, mental health, it goes right up the alley of, look at the situation this guy was in last year. And now he's remembering it. Now history tells us, it's rewritten, and it tells us it was just a sabbatical. He got benched. He was compared to Jamarcus Russell on ESPN, literally. They are comparing this guy to the biggest draft bust in modern history at times. He took that situation, he spun it, he turned it into a positive. And you look at the roller coaster ride that the Panthers quarterback went on last season, and it's no doubt that screwed his head on a little tighter. And now he deals with situations he might get put in, a little more resilience. It was a good thing. The riveting waters, righting the ship was a good thing for Bryce Young last year. And let's remember it correctly.
This is The Tone, your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast. The Tone.
Look, we all know the Panthers defense was really bad last year. How much does Derrick Brown help this Panthers defense? Mina Kimes is talking about that, but first she elucidated on just how bad the Panthers defense was in 2024. Here's Mina Kimes.
Gave up 5.2 yards per carry as a defense. To put that in context, the Eagles averaged 4.9 yards per carry. So they turned every offense that faced them into a better version of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, Panthers defense is a complete laughingstock in 2024. That number's pretty absurd. I have some other numbers for you here. 5.2 yards per carry. Carolina Panthers gave up 3,057 rushing yards in 2024. They gave up 31 points per game. They only had 32 sacks, 17 takeaways, and allowed 534 total points, 59 offensive touchdowns. 35 of those were through the air. And I think we all turned a blind eye to how bad the defense was because the offense was entertaining. No matter how bad the defense performed down the stretch, late in the season, you knew the offense was going to be able to make up some points. The offense was electric at points in 2024. But there was a significant drop-off. So the Panthers went from 22nd against the run in 2023 to last in 2024. They allowed nearly 1,000 more passing yards, more than a touchdown. They gave up one more touchdown per game in 2024 compared to 2023, and over 1,000 more yards allowed rushing. They gave up 2,000 more yards and more than a touchdown per game in 2024 compared to 2023. And the good news in this is despite having clear regression between 2023 and 2024, notable regression, the Panthers' offense is in a much better place, and I think the offense can do enough where the defense just needs to be middling. And if the defense is middling, if the defense is ranked 22nd or higher, if the Panthers' defense is ranked 22nd or higher, I think the Panthers can make a serious playoff push. I think they can get into the playoffs and they can win the NFC South. If the defense is ranked 22nd or higher. So if you go back to that 2023 defense that had players like Xavier Woods, who was playing at the peak of his career. You had Frankie Louvu and Brian Burns, two guys I don't think you've replaced since they've left. We'll see what Scorton becomes. We'll see if you have a hidden gem at inside linebacker. But Louvu and Burns, two Pro Bowl caliber players, especially against the pass. Those guys provided underrated amounts of pressure in recent seasons, but especially in 2023. I don't know if your pass rush is going to be as good as it was in 2023, but I do think you beefed up against the run. Nick Scorton looks like he's meant. He was born to set the edge. So hopefully he, right off the frying pan, is a bona fide starting caliber edge. Maybe Umamielen can give you a spark, pin his ears back, and get after the passer. Who knows? But I think the foundation of this team has always been one thing. It's run the ball and stop the run. We know they can do that first thing. We're confident the Panthers have an elite offensive line They can maul teams over and run the ball. And they even have a pretty cool passing attack that's worth defenses game planning for. We all presume Bryce Young going into the 2025 season is an imminent threat to opposing defenses. So the offense, their ability to run the ball and score points has never been the issue. It's can they stop the run? And I think that's the key to all this. That is the key. Because I really don't see this team having an elite pass rush or winning by sacking the quarterback and getting after the passer. I don't think they're meant for that. Maybe Emmanuel Mielen is that type of player. Maybe Scorton can do some of what he used to do at Purdue at the pro level. Maybe Wanham or Patrick Jones takes a huge step up. I think Wharton's going to get after the passer. Derrick Brown is probably going to get you 4 or 5 sacks if he's healthy. But besides that, I don't think the pass rush is how you're going to win games on defense. They need to stop the run. And it all starts with Derrick Brown, who I think does provide a significant force in stopping the run. They did allow 1,000 more yards in 2024 than 2023. I don't know if Derrick Brown makes up that difference, but having him on the field is going to be a very good start. And if the Panthers can be a force against the run, their offense can do enough to stay with teams, to put up points, and then it's the Panthers' passing attack versus the opponent's passing attack. And most of the time, I think the Panthers, with this offense, with this iteration of the Carolina Panthers offense, I'm confident they can go out there and score points. They need to stop the run. That is the key to all this. And Derrick Brown is a pretty good start. Getting him back on the field is a big, key force for the Carolina Panthers. Xavier Legette in the news yet again. We can't keep up with this guy. The limelight just follows the Panthers wide receiver.
This is The Tone, your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast. The Tone.
It's keep pounding, but it's keep your personality. That's the difference between the Carolina Panthers and a lot of other professional sports organizations. Keep pounding and keep the personality. And it's staying that way with Dave Canales, who comes from the Pete Carroll tree. Pete Carroll, big on player personality. It's not just enjoy your personality, be yourself. It's be a heightened version of yourself. And we don't even care if you're in the limelight and the spotlight, just show up and play good football. A lot of other teams see that as a distraction. They see their best players getting into the spotlight and they say, stop that. Stop that. It's a distraction. You think Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin or the Packers, one of these historic franchises, likes their wide receiver going around and getting in front of cameras every chance he gets? That wouldn't be for one of those teams. But rapper Glorilla gets steamy with NFL star Xavier Legette in her Typa. It's her song Typa video. And this is per Hot 97. So I never thought I would be invoking hot97.com when talking about the Carolina Panthers. And if you were to tell me that hot97.com would come into context with the Carolina Panthers, I'd probably say we have a problem. There's either partying or some sort of illicit substance involved. Now, this isn't talking about Summer Jam. It's talking about Xavier Legette and his presumed relationship with rapper Glorilla. And here's what Amina Ali had to say about Glorilla's recent video where Legette is just all over the place. He's in the bedroom with this rapper. He's holding the door for her. It's spicy. Amina calls it a steamy 3-minute visual where the chemistry between the Panthers wide receiver and the rapper Glorilla is impossible to ignore. Legette, shirtless and fully in character, shares intimate moments with the rapper, who appears in lingerie and as the two get cozy in the bedroom. And it's just this 3-minute spicy visual that's circulating all over the internet of the Panthers wide receiver and the rapper. And again, this is this guy's private life. We don't care about that. But a lot of teams would see this as a choice. It's a choice for the Panthers wide receiver to star in a rapper's music video. It's a choice to put yourself in front of the camera nearly every chance you get. And personally, I love it. I love the fact that Xavier Legette is doing this because it is central to the Carolina Panthers. This is what differentiates the Panthers and the Packers, the Panthers and the Patriots. I don't have Bill Belichick walking around with his hoodie with the sleeves cut off. Xavier, get back to practice. Stop hanging out with the rapper. All right. You don't have Belichick trying to throw sand on the fire. The Panthers fully encourage Legette to be himself. And I really hope it works out. Because I see flavors of Cam Newton in Legette. It's apples to oranges, certainly. I don't think any Panther in the next 20, 30 years is going to have the aura that Cam Newton had. But I do think it's necessary. And I don't think the Panthers get it from their quarterback. I think the quarterback's quiet. He goes to the party. He's a wall hugger. Legette is in front of the microphone, in front of the camera. He's a good voice. He's a voice you want to hear. He's saying all the right things. But he also brings a little bit of a buzz to the team. The sad news is it sets it up for massive failure. And this is a wide receiver room with hot, spicy competition. So as Legette gets steamy with rapper Glorilla in a music video, there is a equally steamy, hot competition in the Carolina Panthers receiving room. Not completely synonymous, but close. Jalen Coger, he wants to be a wide receiver too. Thielen, what are his reps this year? Jimmy Horn, he could step up to the plate and be a starter in this offense. Maybe. That's what we're saying in OTAs. There's a lot of competition in this room. And the idea that Legette is the personality, he gets the buzz that he gets, I don't want it to be short-lived. I want him to go out there and have 800 yards at least, so we can continue to talk about Xavier Legette in his music videos and talking about recipes with Guy Fieri and doing all the media appearances that the Panthers receiver is doing. I want all that to continue in Charlotte because I think it's not just good for the Panthers receiver who's cashing in. He's cashing in. He's doing what you would do in the video game. This is me or you, the Panthers stud wide receiver. Of course you're going to go cash in, soak in the sun, soak in the limelight. But you're also happy for the Panthers because this is a step in the right direction slowly. If this was the Patriots, I wouldn't be saying the same thing. For the Panthers, keeping your personality is integral to the success of this organization. That is it for this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I promised I'd get this to you on Saturday, and I didn't. You thought Big Pharma was a problem. Let's talk about Big Car, because they're really screwing me over right now. That's it for this show. We're going to go over minicamp, which is coming up, mandatory minicamp, June 10th through June 12th for the Carolina Panthers. So we'll do a review, a debrief on that. And oh my gosh, folks, I just want the team to be in pads. I want the guys to start hitting each other. Like, come on. That's when we're really going to see who's who. How good's this defense? How good's the pass rush? Are there any safeties like Damani Richardson or Lathan Ransom who could step up? Until they get on the pads, we don't know.